So just a quick introduction. My name is Mike Rose. I'm with NRC Alaska. I'm thrilled to be here. Just want to say a quick thank you to the organizers of this event for including us. And I feel like it's been a great job. Has everyone had a good time so far? Doing good? Perfect. Do we need to do jumping jacks or anything to wake you up from lunch? I'll try not to put you to sleep. How about that? So a little quick, I'm going to give you a quick background about us at NRC Alaska, and then we'll jump into what we've brought as a waste solution for you guys. So just quick, so NRC Alaska, we're part of the NRC group, which is a global environmental remediation and spill response company. We're the local region up here. We previously operated under the name Emerald Alaska, if any of you heard of Emerald. So NRC Alaska, I'm just going to read this slide. I won't do much reading off the slides after that, is the leading provider of environmental and industrial services for Alaska. We pride ourselves on being problem solvers. Our mission is to provide cost-effective solutions for our customers while maintaining compliance to federal and state regulations, and we're awful proud of that. We want to help everyone out. We want to do it by the law and in the right way. And then also, we are a provider of Made in Alaska products, which we'll talk a little bit more about today. So, quick background, we won't spend much time on this. Our service lines is quite extensive. We do everything, like I mentioned, from soil remediation projects to tank cleanings, spill response. Anyway, as you can see, a number of different services up there. So, really quite involved in the environmental game in many different ways. So, and then a lot of people actually don't know what I mentioned before, is that we are a provider of different Made in Alaska products. So right here in Anchorage, we have a warehouse, and we actually make a number of different products such as diesel exhaust fluid, antifreeze, windshield washer fluid, some degreasers, and then we carry some supporting products such as orange salt, absorbent materials like a few other vendors here also sell. This is to us this is a big deal because, as we all know, we can bring stuff up from the lower 48, or we can try to keep it local. So we really pride ourselves in providing a local product that's high quality, that meets all those same standards. So we have locations that are scattered throughout the state of Alaska, from Kenai to here in Anchorage. We have multiple, one in Palmer, Fairbanks, and then in Deadport. So these locations obviously give us the opportunity and capability to provide our services to wherever your community is closest, right? And all along the rail belt and obviously the main highway. So let's get into it, because not that you are all totally interested in the history of NRC, but we're here to talk about waste and waste solutions, correct? So you can see the picture I've got up there, just a pile of drums, actually a picture that was taken by one of our guys from the job. How many of you have ever seen a site like this, or maybe even have a little bit of this going on in your community? And it's common. We have been involved in many projects, some of the backhaul projects like Zender does, or there's a few other places. And we'll go along for the backhaul projects and help identify hazardous waste, manage it, and then also bring it back to our facilities for processing. So today, for the waste solution that we have brought to this event, we want to talk about one specific waste stream, and that is glycol. Not every time, but a lot of times when we go to a community, a village, or whatever, and we see this used drum farm going on, we'll usually find a drum of used antifreeze, or used whatever the different glycol is. So raise your hands if you have any of these, if these pictures you see represent something you've got in your community. Anyone got vehicles? Oh, come on, like 4 people? You gotta be kidding. All right, there, come on. Wake up, right? Vehicles. How about heavy equipment? All got that. Generators for power? What about boiler systems for heat transfer, heating systems, right? So if you raised your hand, you have glycol. There's glycol in your community. It is being utilized. One thing about glycol, so glycol is a heat transfer fluid, right? Its main purpose is for freeze protection. Water actually is the best sourced fluid for heat transfer. It performs almost perfectly but has a real low freezing or a high freezing point. So glycol is used as the freeze protection, and then it's blended with corrosion inhibitors to protect the metals and seals that it comes in contact with. The thing about glycol is it doesn't have an infinite lifespan. So it is eventually going to lose the chemistry is going to become corroded. If you have something break down or there's an accident, it can become damaged. Parts can become damaged, which will cause replacement. So after that, that's usually when it gets piled into a drum or some kind of container and thrown into, like our previous picture, right, some kind of drum farm to be dealt with after. Or if not, and traditionally in the past, what has been seen is that we have paid other companies to ship it out of the lower 48, right? So what we want to talk about today is a better way to handle glycol and glycol waste. So this is a picture of our glycol distillation plant here in Anchorage. This is recently installed equipment, and what we can do with this is take used glycol that is generated from automotive, mechanical, aviation, anyway, any use of glycol. We can bring it back to our facility, treat it, and redistill it back to its virgin equivalent state. I'll show you some examples of the process we use, but what's really important to notice about or to pay attention to for distillation is that statement, virgin equivalent. Sometimes we don't even like to say the word recycle because people have the predisposition that it can't be as good as new. But that is not the case with distillation. We have the testing to show that the glycol that we distill meets those virgin equivalent specifications, which we then take it, reblend it with water, we use the deionized water and those corrosion inhibitors to make a new product. So, as you'll see here, here we'll go through this. So, over here at my booth, I've got some sample jars, and I just want to show you give you a visual display of what this process looks like. So this is what typically we see when we pick up used antifreeze. These examples are antifreeze. So as you can see here, there's a nice layer of oil on top. If you were to go pick up the bottle, you can see some floating solids in there, right? So it's all contaminated and gross. So we take this at our facility, and then through a process of chemical treatment and just basic filtration, we remove those solids and those oils. So you can see here that's cleaned up quite a bit, right? Looks pretty good, but once it's at this state, we've removed the solids from it. We then introduce it into our glycol distillation plant, which under heat and vacuum and a circulation process, we distill out all those impurities to get it back to here. And that is, I promise, that is distilled glycol. That's not a sample jar that we took new stuff to try to show that it works. I promise it works. So we have our base glycol once again, and then these are just a simple picture of the 4 different blends of antifreezes that we make up here. And these are the most common that you find. There are some specialty ones that go in special vehicles, but the red one, for example, is an extended life blend, which you find in most of your heavy equipment or your diesel motors, right? The green is a conventional green. It's kind of the one that's been around forever. Anyway, and if you have questions, well, obviously there's a vendor question and answer, and you can also come talk to us over here at our booth, and we'd be happy to answer any questions about this. So just here's a quick review of our recycling model. You get your new equipment, your new truck, your mechanic fixes it, places it in some kind of storage, and instead of shipping it out, we bring it back here to Anchorage for distillation, make it into a new product, back to your vehicle. And this cycle can be continued as long as needed. Glycol does not have a lifespan. You can continually redistill out that glycol. This is obviously a big option and a big resource for the state of Alaska, right? Because as you guys know, here's my nice little mat that I made here. Did this all myself. I'm not a pro when it comes to building all this stuff. But I thought I was clever, put the nice little dollar signs on the ship. So, as you know, it is expensive to ship stuff back and forth, right? Probably maybe the single greatest obstacle, if not one of the biggest obstacles for Alaskans, is freight, right? How expensive it is. And then you get into some of your rural communities, and you've also got another obstacle in logistics from just getting it from either Anchorage out to your community or whatever, right? But as we know, so with glycol products such as antifreeze or heat transfer fluid, we're paying to ship them up on a barge plant them in Anchorage, use them, and then we're packaging up that waste and paying to ship it back. Think how much money that is we're paying for those products just in the freight portion of it. So our goal here at NRC Alaska, let's eliminate it. Let's get rid of it. We can't solve every logistical problem, obviously, but with this new technology, our goal, or what we I guess would like to see, is that another drop of glycol not be brought into the state. There's enough in circulation around here that if we were to responsibly recycle it, that we could self-sustain ourselves, right? And that's a big deal, to be able to self-sustain ourselves. It's a big option. And especially when, you know, the products are being produced are Alaskan made, the employees that are doing this are local Alaskans, right? It's truly a local option. All right, so, well, we can just get to this, that's fine. The point, I guess, in all of this is what does it mean for you and your community, right? Yeah, this is a big fancy piece of metal. Yeah, it's antifreeze. Maybe you don't even deal with it, or you have lots of it in waste. But really, it's bigger than just a locally made product. When you are able to utilize this to your advantage, you can improve your green initiatives going on in your communities. You can, you know, by supporting recycling, by supporting Alaskan-made products, and the biggest key for everyone that's looking for is a way to save money, right? So we can, like I said, by eliminating that freight from back and forth from the lower 48, we can help your community save money, and that's what we want to do, right? Like I said, I'll state it again, our mission for Alaska is to provide effective solutions, cost-effective solutions, by maintaining compliance to all federal and state regulations, and we take pride in that, and we hope that we will have the opportunity to also pass those on to your community. Thank you for your time. Obviously, if any of you guys have any of these social media, you can follow us on our social media pages for more updates about who we are, or what we're doing, or the solutions that we're providing. Thank you.
We've got one from Anna in the back.
Hi, I really love the Made in Alaska deal, and I really like that concept of the antifreeze. So 2 questions. One is, what do you do with all the byproducts of recycling it? And how do you dispose of it? I mean, is there anything that you actually have to ship out or dispose of in any other kind of way? Or is everything from your recycling process able to be disposed of properly in Alaska?
So I'm actually going to call on Paul because I believe we just had a meeting with this. But so we do dispose of those. Obviously, we're in the waste management business, so we responsibly take care of those. Are we able to dispose of those here locally, Paul?
Every bit of still bottom, called still bottom, because in the distillation process, it creates a sludge of material that's accumulated at the bottom that you pointed out. Absolutely. We do a full waste determination on just that waste stream to determine if it's toxic, if it's hazardous, or if it's not hazardous. So far, all of our still bottoms have turned out to be non-hazardous, and then we solidify them into a solid state and then properly dispose of them in a permitted landfill. So that's the process that happens to still bottoms. We don't think we're ever going to see toxic still bottoms. We just don't see those ingredients in the actual waste stream to concentrate in our still bottoms to make them hazardous. If they were, we would manage them as hazardous waste.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question is, a couple of days ago, you talked to me about a lot of different things, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. One of the things that you were telling me about is, if a community did have a bunch of antifreeze they wanted to recycle, let's say, I was telling you about our housing authority in our region was going through and replacing a bunch of boilers, and they had a whole bunch of antifreeze to get rid of, like drums full. And you were saying that it's possible that in turning in a bunch of drums, you'd have to pay for the shipping and then a fee to dispose of them with you, we could get a discount on the antifreeze we buy back. Is that correct? Or can you explain how that would happen?
Yeah, no problem. I'll just talk loudly. You don't need to bring the mic here. So what we have a program that's called our exchange program. And And what it is that there is a fee for disposal because there are people that just dispose of us and don't buy the new product, right? And that was a very expensive investment to install that up here. So, but we do have a program we call our exchange program, which is if you, let's say that you're doing some upgrades at your community and you've got 100 gallons to dispose of, but you need 100 gallons of new in return, we heavily discount your disposal and when you are doing that full exchange with us. We're in the business of helping Alaska, so if someone's going to support all those things we talked about, Alaska products and local Alaska business, we're going to return the favor and help you out. So, thank you. Great question.
Thank you very much for your information. Is NRC has everything stored on a small recycling unit for recycling glycol, especially the rural communities where it's cost prohibitive for transportation, so they can recycle, reuse, and possibly resell at a lower cost, where like in the cash where a small community can buy a unit, and move it around, or either once a year or whenever it's possible.
So are you asking if we supply those or have those? Is that your question? So I know what you're talking about, but is your question, do we have those to supply to you? Yeah. So they do. There are. You can find machines. Some you may have heard of a WIMS machine. And what it is, it's an antifreeze recycler. But basically, it's a fancy filter process. And so if you go back, let me try to go back here real quick. So an antifreeze recycler basically take it from here to there. And so yes, it does help because you remove a lot of your impurities. But there's a reason that it's discolored. The chemistry is messed up. It could, the pH level can be messed up. There's still contaminants in it, which will, in return, could damage your motors or your seals and those types of things. And those are expensive investments on your community's part, right? So they do make those, and I understand economically why those are utilized in rural communities. They do have those options, but we would like to take it a step further. If we're going to offer a quality product, we want to make sure we do our due diligence and take care of it all the way, see it all the way through. Does that answer your question, sir? Come see me after. Come see me after, or at the vendor question. I'm happy to dive more into that.
I was just wondering if there was a limit on the number of times that you could recycle antifreeze, or if you've ever come across a high enough level of impurities that you weren't actually able to filter it out to recycle it.
Okay, good question. So, no, there is no limit to the amount of times you can distill or recycle antifreeze, but there is a problem if it is mixed, right? So that is a big issue, that if you were gonna take advantage of this in your community, don't put it in a drum and then mix old gasoline in it or any old fuel in it, because then it would become hazardous waste, and we're not able to use it. We have to treat it just like waste, and we have to. It would become much more expensive. So those are what will limit your ability to recycle, is if it's mixed with other contaminants. But if it's just used antifreeze alone, with basically what you find, which is a little oil and some floating solids, we can handle it, and you can continue to do that over and over.